happy to call the Paulding County Board of Commissioners July 20th work session meeting to order. Thank you for being here and participating in county government. It's a pleasure to recognize elected officials and District Attorney Dick Donovan and Sheriff Gary Gullidge. And I see no others. We are always delighted to have Chaplain Joy Meeks in our presence to bring us the invitation and lead us in the pledge of the flag. If Brian just hold that for a second, we'll do it in a minute.
Thank you so much for allowing us to be here today. Let's pray. Father, we love you and we thank you so much for allowing us to live in such a great county with great people, Father. We pray as we come today, though, with a special petition, fathers, our elected officials. I pray, God, that you touch them today. I pray that you'd lead and guide them in decisions that's going to affect all of our life, Father. Pray, God, that you just touch. We're praying for all of our first responders. I pray, Lord, that you'd just build a hedge around them today, Father, that you'd protect them. I pray that you'd keep them safe. And we always want to give you the honor and the glory because you're so worthy. And we thank you for salvation through the Lord Jesus Christ. In his name, amen.
Amen.
All right, let's salute. Pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much, Chaplain Meeks. Brian, if you'll bring the list forward and have cell phones that are still on like mine was last meeting. The minutes of the June 26, 2018 work session and the minutes from the June 26 board meeting are available for your review. Also, the June 28, 2018 town hall meeting minutes are available for your review.
Hey Dave, I have a change and edit to the meeting minutes from the town hall meeting. There's a line in there that says that Lindsay Fuller discussed the morgue. She wasn't there. The sheriff discussed it, but Lindsay wasn't present.
Okay, thank you for that correction, and we'll make that and get that in the 2 o'clock meeting. The announcements also continue to celebrate the independence that occurred Saturday evening. And, my wife and I were there for a little while, so we're going to celebrate positively Paulding with the highlights of the pole barn independence.
Hi, I'm Terry.
I'm Joe Salvatore.
And we are here at Taylor Farm Park tonight on our 2018 Independence at the Pole Barn Concert and Fireworks. This has been a beautiful crowd tonight. It's been an evening that started with a few showers, but the crowd still came out. We've got thousands of people here. Fireworks are getting ready to start as soon as dusk becomes evident, and we are really excited. Dallas Martin Band playing in the background. We want to thank all of our sponsors, our vendors, and we thank the county for all your support. Joe, you want to add anything?
Well, the rain certainly didn't scare Paulding County away. We had an awesome turnout, had a wonderful time playing all of our kids' games. A lot of great participation, had fun with our celebrity look-alike contest. A lot of fun with that. The band's been excellent, and I can tell the people here are very, very excited for some fireworks. So we appreciate everyone that's came out. Again, like Tina said, thank you to our sponsors. It's just been an awesome day here in Paulding County.
And if you missed it this year, we got to see you here next year.
Please come by. You guys have a very safe 4th of July weekend.
Excellent job, Austin Haygood. Also, about 8 days ago out at Pickett's Mill Battlefield, a marvelous historic site here in Paulding County. In Post 1, there are a few things that aren't in Post 4.
That's right.
And I had asked Commissioner Davis if he would give us a little account of that hike we took.
Well, I think some pictures are going to come up here. We had an opportunity with the chamber to go out and see Pickett's Mill Battlefield and get kind of a personal, it almost felt like a first-hand account of what happened there, but the guy's younger than I am, so I know he wasn't there. Here I am looking confused. We had to go off and see a lot. And, we had a mini conference some time ago where we came out of that conference with the board unified on embracing our strengths in the county, and a lot of that being our natural resources. And to see this battlefield where such a critical battle in the Civil War took place right here in our backyard, Post 1, and it was a lot of fun, and we got to see some cool sights from a historic point of view, but also some beautiful pieces of nature right there. So if you guys haven't been there, it's off of Mount Tabor Church Road, and right there in Post 1, and it's a beautiful place to be, and it's a lot of fun, and you can go out and enjoy it for yourself. Take a friend.
Which post was it in?
Well, I think it's in Post 1. Well, Tony's always bragging about it. Every time something in Post 4, Tony's over here like waving at us, going, it's Post 4, it's Post 4.
I would not give you a nickel for a commissioner that wouldn't brag on his post.
Amen.
So yeah, it's Post 4.
Thank you, Ron. I'd like to announce that the meeting date, the next meeting of this month has been changed from Tuesday, July 24th to Thursday, July 26th. We'll have the 10 o'clock work session and the 2 o'clock planning and zoning meeting with the 7 o'clock board meeting. Invited guest, Miss Melanie Dallas is here with Highland Rivers Health Board. I haven't seen her. There you are. Sorry I didn't get to talk with you before, Melanie.
That's okay.
Thank you for being here, and look forward to your information this morning. Go ahead.
I've brought some information for each of you. Tells you just a little bit about our agency and our footprint in Paulding County. And I'll leave also some of my cards with Angela. Those out to you too. So if y'all ever have any needs, mental health needs, substance abuse, intellectual developmental disabilities, that's what we specialize in. So I'm sure I'm going to hear from all you about this afternoon. So I wanted to take just a moment to share with you a little bit about Highland Rivers and our footprint here and the importance to the Paulding County community. So at Highland Rivers we serve actually 12 counties. A lot of folks don't realize that because they think of us as just being, that footprint in the county, but we actually serve 12 counties. We cover about 4,400 square miles. We are the largest community service board in the state of Georgia. And we're a product of a merger, seems like about 1 million years ago now. And that actually made us the largest. We have about 700 employees. Our annual budget on the revenue side is about $50 million projected for FY19, and our expenses are probably projected right around $51 million. So that's, it's much like running a county sometimes. And about 40% of our revenue budget comes through legislative appropriations from the governor's budget. And so as a community service board, we are your mental health safety net provider, which essentially means that for individuals who do not have any resources and have no way to get care, that's why there is a legislative appropriation for us that is made through from the governor's budget to the Department of Behavioral Health. And then of course we get just a slice of that pie. In that area, in that 4,400 square miles, we have 9 outpatient clinics. We have 3 crisis stabilization units, 1 in Dalton, 1 in Rome, and 1 in Cedartown. And then we have multiple other programs. We have overall about 36 different sites where we provide services. And we serve about 16,000 individuals, unduplicated individuals, on a yearly basis. So you start to get sort of just a picture of kind of the magnitude of our agency. We primarily work with mental health, addiction recovery services, or of course dual diagnosis, which could be mental health and addictive disease. We also serve, in Paulding County, we serve quite a number of individuals with intellectual and developmental disorders. We also work with folks in crisis, and probably about 80% of the folks who go into our crisis units actually come out of our territory. Our crisis, for crisis services, our catchment area is a little bit bigger because our CSB, our brother CSB to the northwest, which is Lookout Mountain, which they have Dade, Walker, Catoosa, and Chateau County, they don't have crisis services, so we provide for that area also. In addition, there are some minimal services that we provide to Haralson County because they just don't have quite the infrastructure that we do. So in those outpatient services, particularly here in Paulding County, we have our location is on Enterprise Path. And in the 5-6 years actually that I have been with Highland Rivers, we've expanded that space more than twice. And so we have had to just wait for folks to leave the building and ask the landlord, we've got to have more space, more space, more space. And we are absolutely at the gills now, as we are in most of our sites. As you know, I don't need to tell you what the population growth has been up here in Northwest Georgia, and it's been significant. So it's been very difficult for us as an agency with those legislative appropriations, as you can imagine, become quite limited at times, and it becomes hard sometimes to meet the need, particularly with the population growth we've seen. And Paulding County has been certainly one of the areas that has grown significantly. We are in no way looking to reduce our footprint. As a matter of fact, if we were able to get the support through the legislature, we would probably expand our footprint here and actually put a second clinic in Paulding County if we actually had the capital to do something like that. So we are some of the information that is in your packet is Title 37, which is really the official code of Georgia, which really governs what a CSB is. So we are established in law. And some of the limitations and the roles that we actually play. So we have a lot of oversight. We have 14 board members, all of whom are appointed by their county commissioners. So you kind of have a say in our board members, and our board has a legislative, fiduciary, and really regulatory sort of role actually to make sure that we maintain compliance. As long as everything goes well, they leave all the daily operations to me. We rely on county assistance. We are not a 501c3. We're a public nonprofit instrumentality of the state. We rely on county support to be able to maintain the footprint that we need within the community because, as you can imagine, the legislative appropriations just don't always get us quite there. We're a very, very lean organization. We run on about 11% overhead, which is pretty good for an agency, a $50 million agency. We are, again, I said a 509A1, not a 501c3, and one of the limitations of that is that we don't actually have the ability, as maybe a nonprofit agency, to receive funding through trusts, foundations, donations, anything like that. We actually can't do that. So that kind of limits even some of our growth and what we can do. In Paulding County specifically, in FY, well, I actually pulled calendar year 17 because I thought it might mean more to you to look at calendar year 17. We served close to 1,300 unduplicated individuals in Paulding County, and those individuals got over 18,000 different distinct services here for Paulding County residents. 1,200 of those were in substance abuse services. 1,400 of those services were for youth and their families. 200 were for women who were in our substance abuse programs who had had children removed from their custody and into the custody of the state. We have a program which works with women in that situation to reunify moms and their children while they're in substance abuse treatment with us. And then 6,000 of those services were actually provided to individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. 30% of all the individuals that we provide service for had no resources. So had we not been here, there really wasn't a resource. As we are really kind of that entity that says, regardless of your ability to pay, if you meet the criteria for needing mental health, substance abuse, or developmental disability services, that's, we're here for you. In the next year, we've got several partnerships and some initiatives that we're working on. One primarily is to start working with emergency rooms, law enforcement, to look at the drain that it's kind of putting on our resources and many of the county resources. As you know, a lot of folks with mental health and substance abuse issues end up in emergency rooms, and sometimes they sit there. There's kind of a backlog in the state of where they can, services that they can access. So we've been working very successfully for about 2 years now in Rome, doing all of the assessments that come into the ERs to try to work with connecting folks and diverting them from more intensive services, which really kind of backlogs the system. Also putting a drain on your sheriff's department, because many times they're utilized for transport. And so we've really been working to minimize those who need to be transported, and if we can get them connected to services and keep them out of hospital, that's best. We've achieved a 50% rate of diversion for more intensive services, which is really the most economical and the most sound, and the one that preserves the dignity of the individuals we serve, is when we don't have to hospitalize them. We also have several local jail contracts. Paulding County was first out of the gate. It has been a model that has been looked at throughout the state, that we come into your jail and we service those individuals with mental health issues in your jail, and work very closely with your jail administrator and your sheriff to make sure that they have the services that they need. That way we can also try to get them connected to try to reduce perhaps reincarceration rates. And then school-based behavioral health is another one that we've been working on, so that we can work with children, their families, and school personnel to try and address issues that happen that keep children from being able to learn, but also those mental health issues before they get too advanced, and children maybe even have to be removed from their home. We are actually in the process now also of working with some teams to set up critical incident stress management teams. We know that as many of you, when you watch the news, you know the next occurrence of an emergency or disaster is right around the corner. It was never part of my youth, but it has become part of almost every day or every week now. And so we're preparing teams to help in disaster relief, whether that's schools, whether it's communities, and have standing up a 30-man team of folks who are specifically trained in critical incident stress management, so that any time if you have an issue that you need something like that, that we'll be here to serve. So with that, thank you so much for your time, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have, and also respectfully ask you to consider in your next year's budget maintaining the line item and your support for us.
Thank you, Melanie, and Dallas is a great last name, right?
Yes, it is, and I hear that every time I come here to Paulding County, so when people ask me about it, because I always think it's Davis, I'm like, Dallas, and they're just like, in Georgia, and they're like, or like in Texas? Well, how about in Georgia?
Dallas in Texas, too.
Yeah, well, they say, I've never been there, but that's what they say.
Can I ask you a question about board members?
You certainly can.
How many per county, and what do you base it on, maybe population, or?
It is, it used to be on population.
Okay.
Interestingly, they changed that law about 4 years ago, and that was a law change and a policy change through the Department of Behavioral Health. So we serve 12 counties, and Harrelson is included in that, and they have a board seat. In addition to, each county gets one board member, and so they have one board seat. In addition, the 2 counties who make the most county contribution to our agency get an additional seat. And so right now, that is Floyd and Polk County.
So each county gets one?
Each county gets one. Yes, sir.
All right. I had somebody actually ask that question last week, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, not a problem. And we do have, there's a sort of a complicated algorithm to the makeup. We need a certain number of elected officials that sit on our board. We also need a certain number of individuals who are advocates or have suffered from mental illness or substance abuse issue themselves, or a family member who has. So we really try to get a very diverse population that helps to guide our agency. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Melanie.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
No other questions? Great. Thank you.
I do have one other question.
Yes.
You've got, I think you said 12 counties,
12 counties, yes, sir.
so we've got 1,300 participants.
Mhm.
So is it about the same in each county? That's roughly about the numbers.
Roughly, yeah, roughly it does. I mean, obviously within those counties, Cherokee County is the largest populated county that we serve, and Paulding County is second, actually, in terms of my counties, which is one of the reasons that I'd love to have, increase our footprint here. I will mention that one of the things that's very special about Paulding County is we serve a very large number of veterans in Paulding County. We have one of the very few continued contracts with the VA. And even as the VA was having some very distressing and confusing times over the last year or so, we just said we're not going to stop serving them until the VA sort of figures out what they're doing. Even if we didn't always know if we were going to get paid or not, but it was just the right thing to do. In FY17, we served about 250 veterans. Last year, we were over 300, and this year we're on track to be close to 500 veterans that we'll be serving. So it's a very large percentage of that is veterans that we serve in our clinics here.
So thanks, and thanks for what you do.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for your time.
Next, we'll call on our district attorney, Honorable Dick Donovan, to come forward and talk about some budget considerations that he has.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate that. I appreciate your invitation to come over yesterday. I'm sorry I didn't get there, but like I say, I had personnel issues with which I had to deal. Mr. Pownell, I got your email, and again, sorry I didn't have time to deal with it. I'm going to paraphrase what I have written down. I timed myself this morning in about 6 minutes. You don't need to hear all of this, but my administrative assistant, Ms. McClare, is going to give each of you a copy of these remarks, which I'm going to abbreviate. I've come here to ask publicly for a little bit of help with staff and modest capital improvement. First of all, I asked for cubicles. As Mr. Pownell knows, because he and I took office at the same time, and he's the only one of y'all that's been here. Ms. Pollard has been here all a while, but others of you are new. We took over the space that was originally allotted as the attorney's lounge in the courthouse and turned it into a space for our investigators. When I took office, we had 2 investigators, and we now have 5 investigators. We built out cubicles in that space at a cost of about $30,000, of which the county paid 5. I paid the rest out of discretionary funds, asset forfeiture funds. We've added 3 more cubicles since then, smaller cubicles, because of space limitations, and we're full. We just don't have any space left. We have people doubling up on these cubicle spaces. We need the additional space for the administrative assistants and the additional victim witness personnel. When I took office, we had 3 victim witness advocates, and we now have 12 people in that unit. You know that the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council provides grant money for that. It doesn't cost the county as much as it might if you were paying full boat for all those people. But we also use those cubicle space for interns, and since I took office, interns have been an enormously important part of what I have done over there. 4 of my 15 assistant DAs were at one time interns in my office, either third-year Practice Act interns or Rule 97 interns. And it's a wonderful garden from which to harvest assistant DAs. We know them, they know us, and we hire the ones, and we're very proud to have them. But we don't have room for any this year. All of our space is taken up. I actually have one right now who's using my conference room because he has no other space to use. So we need the cubicles to be built out. As to the additional personnel, I have asked, this is the 3rd year I've asked for the county to pay for the additional investigator. When I took office, we had 2 investigators. We had, interestingly enough, they drove old ragged out surplus county marshal Crown Vics with police interceptor engines. We don't chase people. We don't need police interceptor engines, so I gave the county all of their vehicles back. I surplused the 2 state-owned vehicles that we had, and I went and bought with discretionary funds, again, not the county money, 2 6-cylinder Chevy Impalas for the 2 investigators that we have. And now we have 5 investigators. I have just traded those 2 and bought 2 4-cylinder vehicles, which is perfectly adequate. But I used, again, asset forfeiture money or 5% funds to use to buy those vehicles. Interestingly enough, we have 1 vehicle that we surplused from the state with 180,000 miles on it. There was a circuit down in South Georgia, Nashville, Georgia, that was excited to get that vehicle with only 180,000 miles on it, because the one they had, the lowest mileage was 360,000 miles. I have tried to be a good steward of the taxpayers' money, both state and county, but I could not adequately provide investigative services without adding an additional investigator, which I did last year this time, and that position is currently being paid for out of 5% funds. That's the position I'm asking the county to take over. The 5% funds come from the assessment, collection, and distribution of the 5% fine surcharge imposed in criminal cases for the funding of local victim witness programs, supplements and salaries, and specific equipment purchases are authorized by our best practices handbook. So I use those funds and asset forfeiture funds in lieu of asking the county for money. As to Investigator Pritchard's salary, the receipt of 5% funds has gone down drastically in the last 2 years because of Governor Deal's criminal justice reform, shorter probation, and lower fines. This is not my problem alone. This is evident in all 49 judicial circuits around the state. And the District Attorneys Association discussed this at length last fall. I was asking if it were only my problem, and everybody said, no, we're all having exactly the same problem. When I took office, our receipts of 5% funds averaged about $100,000 a year. Now it's down to $50,000 or less. When I pay for things that are authorized, like additional personnel or equipment, I can't do the other things that the 5% funds are intended to be used for any monetary purposes. Paulding County Child Advocacy Center, the CASA program, and other charitable programs, because I don't have sufficient funds left over. My operations manager, Mrs. Watson, has told me she needs an additional administrative assistant. I have learned in the year and a half that she's been with me not to ask her questions, but she says she needs it. I believe her. She's on top of it. Right now, and I'll read the statistic that I brought with me, we have 2 felony administrative assistants who service 5 assistant district attorneys. Between them, they handle 1,742 felony criminal files. Misdemeanor administrative assistants have 2,061 files to handle. We have 1 administrative assistant that's dedicated to the drug prosecution, that handles all the drug forfeiture cases and criminal cases. But case count goes up every day, and the administrative assistants are overloaded. But of course, if I got another administrative assistant, I wouldn't have a huge admission, but came with her. So I'm asking the board to consider these budget requests that I've made formally, and I'm making them now. Absent any questions, I'm done. Mr. Claire will distribute the copies of these comments and notes to each of you. Don't have any questions, I'll go back and do my job, leave y'all over here.
Any questions?
I appreciate you coming and talking to us and asking. As an elected official, I appreciate you asking for what you need in the budget. And you know we're working on the budget now. I will go ahead and make this comment, thank you. And it's not one that I haven't been making the last 6 or 8 weeks. To department heads and commissioners and staff, and the chairman's proposed budget, I think, left some of your stuff out of that proposed budget. But That's a proposed budget at a 6.5 mill rate, and I don't know that that's what this board's going to pass. I don't know that it will, and I don't know that it won't. But I have asked the department heads to work on the budget. I know Ms. Pollard is. She's been doing it from day one. And we need to have 2 budgets prepared. So I'm making that comment now. We're going to be going through meetings. We've advertised. We're going to be going through meetings. The next 3 meetings, we're going to have public hearings, public comment, public input, and that's the time to have that. But we can take the chairman's proposed budget at the 6.5. We also need to have another budget prepared at a rollback rate. Because we don't need to sit there the day of the budget and not be prepared to do what we need to do. If we have a 6.5 staff and we have a rollback, then we can do anything between that 6.5 and the rollback. Either one or anything in between. So you and I will be talking.
And I appreciate that. And again, you're aware, all of you are aware, Mr. Pennell's aware, part of my budget is state. I have almost an even number. I have 7 state paid assistant district attorneys and 8 county paid assistant district attorneys. And as I said, most of the people in the victim witness unit are on grant. And I think Ms. Pollard, most of them are on grant. That is to say the county picks up only a portion of their salaries. So again, I'm just trying to be a good steward of taxpayers' money, state, county taxpayers' money, and other public money that comes to me. But I wouldn't be here asking if it weren't something that I need. I could come over here and ask for 2 or 3 times what I'm asking for and settle for what I need, but I don't want to do that. I want to be honest with you, tell you I'm just asking for what I need. And I appreciate your consideration and your attention. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I have a question, please.
I'm sorry.
When you were talking, you said you need more cubicles. And
Yes,
those
sir.
cubicles, you're asking also if the county to pay for those?
Right now, we just got approved for a grant that may pay for the majority of it. We had a bid for around $9,000 to turn, 2 cubicles into either 4 or 6, and I don't remember which it is. But we got that bid probably 6 months ago, a little over $9,000. We just had a grant approved, and I think it's a no-match grant that would pay for about $7,000 of it. So that may be something. I mean, we're always, when Mrs. White came to me and said, okay, we have been told we have extra money from CJCC. There's extra grant money out there that we can get. We don't need more personnel. We've got everybody in the victim witness unit that we need. We've got 12 people in there, including a volunteer. We've got 3 part-timers. We have full staff. She said, you know, what shall I do? I said, ask for the money for the cubicles. And she did. And they approved the grants. And we're always looking to try to save the county money, even though we asked for the cubicles from the county. When it came, when an opportunity came to ask the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council for grant money, and that's usually federal money. It's much easier to get that way, and again, save the county some money.
Yeah, thank you. And second, we've got 1 investigator now that's paid for
With
5%.
5%. That's correct. I got 5 investigators. One of them, every district attorney in the state gets 1 investigator and 2 administrative assistants. And I've got that. I've got 1 investigator who is state paid. I have 4 investigators county paid. Well, 3 investigators that are county paid, and 1 I pay for out of 5% funds. One of those is dedicated to, by the way, one of those is dedicated to the domestic violence unit. I have 2 assistant district attorneys and an admin, and they need an investigator because their caseload is, they started that unit 3 years ago with over 300 cases.
Okay, and you're asking the county to pick up that 1 investigator.
That's correct.
What would you do with that money that now is the forfeiture 5% that would now come back?
When CASA and Child Advocacy Center came to me 3 or 4 years ago, and we had plenty of 5% money, I would write them a check for $20,000, which is a great part of what they use to operate. You know that the county is not allowed to fund charitable organizations with taxpayer money. I do. I don't have it anymore. I gave Child Advocacy Center $10,000 and CASA $10,000 earlier this year, and I said, come back in September and I'll see if I've got any more money. I just had to replace those two cars out of asset forfeiture money. So I don't have as much asset forfeiture money right now as I did have, but those two cars I had for 7 years and they were used when I bought them. So again, I'm trying to be a good steward of the money that I have, it's public money and taxpayer money. But yes, I'm asking the county to pick up that one investigator. Charlie is retired East Point Police Captain. I've known him for almost 30 years. He doesn't need insurance or benefits. I'm obviously FICA and the other add-ons, but he comes cheap because he is retired and he does have insurance just like some of the others I have.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have no bid awards under reports from committees and departments. We have Ms. Ann Lippman to give us our regular community development update, which has been very valuable to us. Thank you, Ann.
No problem. Thank you, as always, for letting me share some of the building permit and business license data with you all. Skip back up to the beginning. As far as building permits go, as of right now, permits have been, they peaked in April. As for the total year, we've issued 3,172 total permits. Breaking that down into single-family detached and non-residential, there's actually a typo. There's been 856 single-family permits. It's the second month in a row that they've gone down, and I'll talk about single-family more in a few minutes. Non-residential permits, I will point out in June that there were 29. The majority of those were not anything new and exciting. They were retaining walls. Retaining walls are considered non-residential, so that is what the majority of those were. Two non-residential permits that I would like to point out. One is for a brand new Goddard School up in the Cedar Crest area, post 4. And one is for Home Goods. If anybody likes to go shopping in early, that's probably in post 3 and her. Now looking at the single family permits, 856 is the current number. The breakdown between the posts, post 4 is still winning, and with post 1, 2, and 3 virtually in a 3-way tie for second. Post 1 has jumped ahead with 15% of the permits. I do think that the decrease in permits is a sign that people are running out of lots, and the next thing we'll probably see will be more development of second phases of subdivisions. Since the budget is coming up, I wanted to, like every month, I want to bring sort of a new nuance to what the permit fees and the business license are telling us. So I thought this month to look at the revenue. Going back to 2010, we basically had a almost 500% increase in the collection and revenue and permits. This is total permits, everything from single family, non-residential trade permits, anything like that. The big spike between 2016 and 2017, we did redo the way permit fees for single family are charged, and so you can see a great increase in those collections. Moving on to occupational tax certificates, as of yesterday, we had 2,994. That is a reduction from the total number we had last month. The ladies in the business license office were in the process of going through anybody who did not renew, and we reached out to them by phone several times and sent letters, and if the letters were returned, we deactivated the account, so that's why that number has gone below 3,000. The breakdown between home occupation and commercial, we have 821 commercial permits, which is 27% of our occupational tax certificates, and so that leaves 73% are home occupations. And looking at the
revenue collected by occupational tax certificates since 2010. As you can see, we have almost doubled that amount in 7 years. So that is the end of this month's presentation. I'll be glad to answer any questions if anybody has any.
Just to clarify, when you're talking about running out lots, you're talking about those are the lots that were out there in 2009. Most of the subdivisions went
Yes.
belly up, and
Yes.
people are buying them. And most of those lots have been purchased now and starting to see activity on them.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
And could you email me that file when you get a chance? Thanks.
All of us.
Will do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ann.
Good report. Under public participation on agenda items, we have no one who has signed up this morning. Under the consent agenda, we have 3 items. Number 1 is to authorize the chairman to sign a warranty deed to George McGarry for 1.87 acres owned by Paulding County in exchange for 1.75 acres along Cedar Crest Road. Number 2 is amending the December 10th, 2017 board meeting minutes to change the term dates for Greg Perry on the Board of Ethics to a 4-year term ending December 31st, 2021. And number 3 is amending the June 26th, 2018 board meeting minutes to change the term dates for Chris Wheeler on the Board of Ethics to a 4-year term ending December 31st, 2031. I'm sorry, 2021. Under old business, discuss action. I need to ask if anyone would like to move in the consent agenda items to regular business. Okay, under old business, number 1 is discuss action to adopt resolution 18-31 confirming executive session for the purpose of pending and potential litigation. That's from the June 26, 2018 Board of Commissioners 7 p.m. meeting. Now, under new business, number 1 is public hearing on action on resolution 18-32, adopting the proposed amendments to the ordinance of Paulding County, Georgia, amending the occupation taxes ordinance. And Ann is already in position. I was going to ask her first to explain the changes to the ordinance.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The main purpose of these changes, as you're aware, a few months ago, the business license or occupational tax division was moved from the Marshall Bureau back to under community development. So the main reason for this change is to change who administers the business license or occupational tax ordinance. But since we were amending the ordinance, there was a few things myself and Ms. Walters, who is the lead business license tech, wanted to change. Those changes, the addition of business, we did not have that defined in our ordinance. We also made a few modifications to the definition of location of office and person. We made changes to section 30-97 regarding each line of business to be identified. And this is best explained. We don't tell people who come in to obtain a business license how to run their business. We ask them how they've set it up, and we reply accordingly. If I had a business as a daycare center and a business as a cleaning service, and I had 2 corporations, I would get 2 business licenses. If I have Ann Incorporated, which does several businesses, I would get but 1 business license. So this change is to make that clarification. We also included application of the 10% penalty to be assessed once a business license or occupation tax is 90 days delinquent as permitted by state law. State law has always allowed this, and we had charged it, but it was not in our ordinance, so we wanted to make that clear. We consolidated some of the language relating to requirements that state and federal permits be required prior to issuance of a license. If you need anything from the state or federal, such as an ATF permit, you need to get those before you get the license. We changed section 30-105 to clarify duties to keep information current, and we removed a provision that allowed any unpaid business to be administratively closed on May 1st of each year. We felt that you could wait till May 2nd and your business would be closed and you would not pay those penalties, so we'd like to strike that section. The only other thing we did is clean up a few typos and correction of some lettering, numbering that was incorrect in the ordinance.
Thank you very much. At this time, I'd like to open the public hearing and ask if there are any citizens that would like to come forward and speak. Seeing no one who wishes to speak, I will close the public hearing. And do you have any comments, Ms. Skipper?
No, the ordinance will be on, this resolution will be on your agenda this evening this afternoon for a vote. So if y'all want to discuss it, you can do that.
I think we've made great strides, or the staff has, in several ordinance revisions, and this is another example of things that needed to be cleaned up, tidied up, clarified, and made available for the county to move forward in 2018 instead of some of them that are 10, 20 years old. So kudos to community development today and Skipper.
I think most everything's in our back end. Y'all did a good job.
Yeah, thank you, Andy. Frank, too.
New business number 2 is discuss action to approve the intergovernmental agreement by and between Paulding County, Georgia, and Paulding County School District and the Paulding County Sheriff's Office, providing for the utilization of school resource officers in Paulding County schools. And we're honored to have with us Sheriff Gulledge and Colonel Hutton, and you all can make your way forward. And
While I was doing that, I'll tell you, this is an agreement that has been negotiated with the school district. It does allow for school resource officers to stay within the high schools, and it discusses how to put them around the county and then how payment's going to be done. We did work with Brian Acker for how the pay scale should be done, and so this has been reviewed by many people, including
Several times.
many times.
glad to have you here, Chad. And,
Yes, sir.
you want to? We do have good backup on this also, but if you would like to give us the highlights, give the citizens the highlights.
Yes, sir, we can. With this agreement, they're going to pay for the deputies while school is going on. I don't remember the exact days that they listed in there, but they also had verbiage in there as to if they had extra days that they requested the deputies to be on campus. It's a little bit different than our old agreement that Tabitha worked with us on, but I think it's around the same. It's going to come out to about the same percentage, we believe, that we previously had with them. So the other thing is the Board of Education, as everybody knows, we're having a hard time holding on to deputies, and they're in that agreement. They are asking to provide a supplement to increase their pay to be a school resource officer, to hopefully attract some additional deputies and candidates, officers from outside the county to be a part of that program and help them with the security. Also in there, they're asking to increase the number of deputies. They're wanting to add at least 5. With several meetings, and I've got a follow-up meeting tomorrow, myself and the sheriff do, with Dr. Otot and Mr. Breedlove. We're not going to be able to fill those right away, but we're going to work hard to try to do the best we can so that we make sure that, our schools are as secure as possible for our children. Because we also have other vacancies that are in that unit that we're trying to fill, so, as y'all are well aware of. So, but that's pretty much it in that agreement. So.
Yeah, I can add, so it's an agreement that has the deputies will be on hand at the specific schools. It's every high school, every middle school, and then there's going to be 5 deputies that are clustered amongst the elementary schools. So there'll be 1 deputy that covers a couple elementary in the north side and a couple on the south side. So they'll be spread out, the 5 that do elementary schools. But it's for the 184 days that school is scheduled from 8 a.m. until 4:30. So it's going to try to cover the county a little better.
And there's also verbiage in there to help cover overtime too.
Right.
Because there's a lot of days they don't leave the school at 4:30.
It's definitely not the high school.
No, we're making arrests, and they're actually very busy. When you see the numbers that our deputies in the schools are having to, the reports that they're doing and the charges that they're having to take it's eye-opening, to be honest with you, so.
You guys are good with this? We're good? We're good?
Yes, sir. I'm very confident in the agreement. I think, I know myself and Tabitha and Mr. Acker, we talked numerous times, and I think we've got everything worked out. The Board of Education has been very responsive to our questions and actually changed the verbiage, I think, 3 times.
They did.
To accommodate us, so they've been very forthcoming and willing to work with us.
Well, I'll say that one of the most horrifying things is when you hear that there's been another incident in a school somewhere in the nation.
Yes, sir.
And I know that every time that happens, every time I get the news, I think, well, what if that was my kid's school? And so, as a commissioner and as someone with a kid in the public school system, I want to say that I appreciate the Sheriff's Office working so diligently with the school board to make sure we can make school safety a top priority in the county. And I appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Kind of quiet, Sheriff Gullich.
Well, Matt.
You look good in the white, though.
Thinking about how to fill the position.
I went to my fire station today.
I was wondering why you brought your pillow.
Thanks so much, Colonel Hunter.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you so much.
New business number 3 is discuss action to adopt resolution 18-33 authorizing a voter referendum on whether to expand the hours of alcohol sales on Sunday to include 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. for the sale of distilled spirits or alcoholic beverages.
It should say 12:30 on the agenda. And I can let you talk or I can talk.
You can talk about this, and then I'm going to give them an update on the elections and kind of expound on why we're having to do these different dates.
Okay, so the Georgia legislature passed a bill this session that was known as the brunch bill. And what its purpose was is to expand the Sunday hours slightly, which is about an additional hour and a half from where they already are, to include the early brunch goers, more or less in Atlanta. So it's difficult to read, but I was going to read the question and hopefully everyone can follow it. It says, shall the governing authority of Paulding County be authorized to permit and regulate package sales by retailers of malt beverages and wine on Sundays between the hours of 11 a.m. and 12:30 p.m., resulting in the hours for sales on Sunday being expanded to 11 a.m. to 11:30 p.m. We were trying to make it clear that it doesn't just make it an hour and a half, it actually tacks on to what we already had, which was 12:30 to 11:30. So it'll be 11 to 11:30 at night if this passes, and it will be on the November elections. You have to call it right now in order for it to make that ballot.
It's the 11 o'clock time, the earliest it was provided for in that.
It is, that's the earliest provided for in the state law. Can't open at 9. It's the earliest it can go.
What I wanted to add to that is because of the nature of the way that this bill is written. We have to do the resolution today, and then on August the 6th, I will publish the call, which covers us for the 90 days, which satisfies our election code 21-2-540. And then on September 7th, which is 59 days away from the November election, I will issue another call that will satisfy Title III in the Georgia Code that deals with alcohol. So that is why we're doing this now. There will actually be 2 calls issued for this, and that way we satisfy both parts of the law and what the legislation requires. It will be on the November ballot as a special election, so we don't have to go out any other time and do it, and the taxpayers have to pay for an election that's not needed. But this is up to the voters. Do you have any questions on that thus far?
And the procedure with the different advertisements, that's what the call refers to. We're going to call and put it in the paper. We actually had to do that the other 2 times that alcohol sales were on the ballot. So this is It's just the procedure that Georgia law leaves us with, that we're gonna advertise it for many weeks.
Yes. Yes. Any questions?
So if this board doesn't pass it, won't be there.
Won't be
Will
on
not
the
be
ballot.
there.
So we got Sunday alcohol sales, now we have to, we're looking at this,
Yeah, your
open
current
it up for another
hours.
hour and a half.
Yeah, your current hours are 12:30 PM to 11:30 PM on Sunday. So this just adds the 11 to 12:30 block.
And Ms. Holton, you were going to share with us some other voting stats?
Yes, and I also wanted to add to this, City of Dallas took this before their council last night, and I know that the City of Hiram has taken it before their council, so if they pass their resolution, that will be included on our November ballot, and everybody will be on the same timeline. So you'll have the county doing it if the voters so choose, and then the cities if the voters so choose, and that way you won't have different entities doing different things, because that always causes so much confusion. So just wanted to let y'all know that as well. As far as an update on our early voting, it is going great. We have voted as of this moment 1,478 voters. That we're running about 500 ahead of what we had in the primary election. So I think we're going to have a really good turnout for this election, hoping that we do. So just wanted to let you know that everything's going very well. I did have to get up and leave because the state investigator decided to come see our voting precinct today, so I wanted to go down and speak with him for a moment. But everything was great, and he was satisfied, so he's no longer here with us. But everything's going well. I want to encourage everybody to come out and vote. We are voting this week until 5 p.m. each day, and then next week we will be here from 8 a.m. till 6 p.m. We're extending the hours every day 1 hour. So I'm glad to see all the people coming out. If you haven't voted and you're in this room, go downstairs and vote, because we want everybody to vote. That's what it's about. So if you have any questions?
Thank you.
Great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That is the conclusion of our regular business. I would like to recognize Ms. Lippman again. She didn't know I could do this, but anybody else in the room run the Peachtree Road Race? Well, she did. And I think she was wishing Frank was behind her on a bicycle. We don't have anyone who has signed up to speak on non-agenda items today. We do have a need for executive session on real estate, personnel, and pending and potential litigation. So I'll entertain a motion at this time that we go into executive session for those reasons.
I'll make that motion, Dave.
Commissioner Davis made that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Pownell. All those in favor? Aye. Stand adjourned. Good afternoon. The executive session is complete, and I'll call the work session back to order and report that no business was undertaken, which is reportable. So I'll entertain this motion. At this moment, a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn this meeting. I think we're going to start the next one at 2:15. I'll make a motion to adjourn this one.
Motion to adjourn, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Davis. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Stand adjourned, back at 2:15.